Hello everybody. So as we were dealing in the last class about the nutrition to be given for the patient suffering from diabetes mellitus, today's topic will be the nutrition for the patient suffering from liver disorders or any kind of a liver disease. Fine. So before moving towards the nutrition, you need to first of all understand that how is liver basically getting affected or how is it functioning. So you need to know a bit of introduction about it. So I'll be telling you the same. The liver first of all is considered to be the largest organ of the body. The liver is considered to be the largest organ of the body, and it constitutes for about 2.5 to 3% of the total body weight, and it has multifunctional. It is basically considered to be a multifunctional organ, and it helps in the metabolism of fats, carbohydrates, proteins. Also, the food which we are intaking, most of the end product of that food is directly transported to the liver, where it gets stored and then it is sent to the other parts of the body whenever it is required. Some toxins, if the liver, the end products of the food whatever we are taking, if any of the end product is toxic for the body, so that particular toxin is detoxified in the liver itself, and then it is transported to any part of the body wherever it is required. Then also the liver diseases, these as I have told you how is liver actually functioning. So liver is considered to play an important role when we are talking about liver and nutrition and a person's health. In short, the liver has its huge contribution in the nutrition of a person. So there is a symptom which is considered to be very common while we talk about this liver diseases. So there is a symptom which is said to be most common, and that symptom is jaundice, which is considered to be a common symptom whenever a person is suffering from any sort of liver disease. So the very first thing we can see, or the very first alarming symptom can be your jaundice. And what mainly happens in jaundice, if you ever have suffered from jaundice, you will be knowing, or if you have a bit of knowledge or if you have a bit of idea about it, you will be knowing that jaundice, what it does, in a lame language or in a layman language, we can say that in jaundice basically the skin and the eyes, the sclera part of the eyes gets pale in color, or it gets a yellowish tint to it. So what happens in jaundice mainly? In jaundice, the bilirubin gets increased. The level of bilirubin in the blood gets increased, and because of this, the skin of the person and the sclera of the eyes, sclera means this white portion of the eye, it turns basically into yellow color. It gets yellowish in color, and because the bilirubin actually is a yellow color of a pigment. So it has this bilirubin is, if you have studied about this RBC life cycle, so you must be knowing that bilirubin is supposed to provide yellow color to the stool. The stool or the feces, it is yellow in color because of the bilirubin. So this bilirubin itself, because it gets accumulated in the body too much, it turns your skin and your eyes yellow in color. That condition is known as jaundice. And sometimes also this the urine which will be passed by a person suffering from jaundice will be yellow in color, and because of the presence of bilirubin in it. And the normal serum bilirubin, which should be 0.1 to 0.8 mg per 100 ml, the normal range is this one, 0.1 to 0.8 mg per 100 ml, but this bilirubin in a jaundice person will be increased than this normal range. So this generally happens when we talk about jaundice or when we talk about a liver disorder. So that is a kind of gist which I gave you right now. So now I'll be moving towards the etiology of the liver disorders, means what is the causes what is actually leading to the liver disorders. So the first etiology or the first cause is your dietary deficiencies. Sometimes dietary deficiencies also can turn to cause a liver disorder. Like giving an example here is, example, that's not an example, actually I'm telling you what really happens. The dietary deficiency, mainly the protein deficiency, if your body is deficient in the protein, or the protein which should be required or which is required by the body, you are not intaking that much of protein, your body is depriving of it, it is deficient of it. So this deficiency of protein can turn to a liver disorder. I am very sure that you people will be able to enlist a few of the protein deficiencies which you have already studied in previous chapters. I'm giving you very two examples that you must be knowing already. That is your Kwashiorkor is there, then marasmus is there. These two are the most commonest form of protein deficiencies which is found mainly in children. So these sort of protein deficiencies can also lead to the liver disorders. Then again, if there is a liver disorder, it can turn to jaundice, the increased bilirubin level, the body gets yellowish, the sclera gets yellowish, the urine will be yellowish. So all these then happens, as I told you earlier. So the first etiology was your dietary deficiency. Now the second etiology is your infective agents. Infective agents means any kind of infection. There are certain types of infective agents, or the infective causes or the infections which can cause a liver disease. Example given is hepatitis A, hepatitis B, entamoeba. All these are the infective agents which are causing liver disorders, or which mainly causes liver disorders. Then next etiology is your toxic agents. Toxic agents means the agents which are toxic to the body, like alcohol is there, some natural toxins are there, some drugs are there which are toxic for the body. So these toxins can also turn up, or these can lead to cause some of the liver disorders. Like if we talk about drugs, so paracetamol is there, then this halothane is there. So these a few kind of drugs are there which we are taking for any specific reason. Like person is taking paracetamol for fever, but it also has a side effect. That means sometimes it can be proving to be a toxin for the body, and it will be causing the liver disorders, or it will be known to be a reason which can cause liver disease in future. Fine. So it's not like you are taking one paracetamol right now and then the next day you will be having this liver disease. It is not like that. Sometimes people tend to have this habit of taking paracetamols. Like, okay, if I have simple headache, I'll be taking a paracetamol. If I have some pain somewhere, I'll be taking a paracetamol. If anything is there, I'll be simply taking a paracetamol. So it also is maybe it is subsiding the thing which we are taking. Like if I have fever, maybe this paracetamol is subsiding my fever, or maybe it is subsiding whatsoever reason I am taking it for, but also it is causing a side effect for the liver. It is also now playing a role in causing a liver disease. So that is one thing. Then one more etiology is there, one more cause is there for causing liver disorder, that is excessive storage of iron, copper, glycogen. When iron, copper or glycogen gets excessive in the body, it gets accumulated in the liver, and when it gets accumulated in the liver might be getting cirrhosed, or it will be having liver cirrhosis. Okay, so these are a few etiological factors which can cause liver disorders. Fine. Then comes the dietary management of liver disorders. I was telling you that what is the etiology behind the liver disorder. Now the dietary management means when a person is having some liver disorder, we are doing some dietary management. So first of all, I'll be telling you that why are we doing this dietary management, what is the objective of dietary management. So the objective of the dietary management done for a patient suffering from any kind of liver disease is first to relieve the symptoms. Okay, like taking an example of any XYZ person is suffering from liver disease. So the medicines are there, medicinal treatment is already there, nursing care is already there, but how are we helping this person out with the nutrition. That's what I'm telling you here. So first objective is that the dietary management will help to reduce the symptoms, to relieve the symptoms. Like if the person has some pain, so with the dietary management that pain can be subsided, or whatsoever symptoms the person possess or the person shows, those symptoms can be subsided, or the symptoms can be relieved because of the dietary management. The next objective is to help or to aid in the regeneration of tissues. See, what happens in a liver disease, the liver cells gets damaged. Fine, the liver cells gets damaged. So if we are doing a proper dietary management for the person, those damaged liver cells will be regenerating, or it will be rebuilding. So for the rebuilding or for the regeneration of the damaged liver cells, or the cells which are now damaged and worn off, for their regeneration the dietary management is done. उनको वापस से उनको बनाने के लिए, जो cells damage हो गए, अब उनको वो damaged cells तो damage होके हट गए, to again build up the new cells, we are doing the dietary management. Okay, the first objective was to relieve the symptoms. The second objective is for the regeneration of the damaged liver cells. The third is to prevent further damage. If the person has this liver disease and the liver cells are getting damaged continuously, and then on the top of that you're also giving food which is not aiding the person, which is not helping the person to relieve the symptoms or to regenerate the cells, but the diet which you are providing is also contributing in damaging the cells, what is the use of that diet? That diet is of no use. So for prevention of the further damage also, the dietary management is considered to be effective enough. Fine. So these were the objectives of having a dietary management for a liver disease person. Now I will be telling you that what kind of diet, what to be kept in mind regarding energy or regarding protein or regarding carbohydrates or fats while we are preparing a diet, or while we have to provide nutrition to the liver disease person, or the person suffering from a liver disease. So first of all, energy. Because the person who is suffering from liver disease will also be found to be anorexic. Anorexic means the person will be having anorexia, loss of appetite. Fine. So the person who is suffering from liver disease also is seen to be anorexic. The person will be having loss of appetite. So the person will not be having that much of food. So keeping all these things in mind, you have to plan that the energy which the energy which we are providing to the person initially should be 1500 to 2000 kilocalories. Fine, I'll be repeating this point. Initially, when we are serving or when we are giving nutrition to the patient, so in that nutrition initially the energy should be given 1500 to 2000 kilocalories, not more than that, because the person will not be able to take more than that. The person will be anorexic. उसे भूख नहीं लग रही है, वो ज्यादा खाना नहीं खा रहा है, तो एनर्जी स्टार्टिंग में उसे हम इतनी ही एनर्जी दे सकते हैं, 1500 to 2000, that much energy can be given. Gradually the energy intake can be increased. कितना इंक्रीज कर सकते हैं? जितना नॉर्मल रेंज है एनर्जी का, नॉर्मल रेंज से 20 to 30% तक we can increase energy intake in the further not in the initial period but in the further duration of the treatment. Okay, later on gradually we can increase this energy intake, but initially the energy should only be given 1500 to 2000 kilocalories. So that much we can give energy through the food which we are serving. Then proteins. So as I have told you already 1000 times that because protein is considered to be it is must for building up of the body tissues. Okay, it is said to be very important while the body is building up or while there is some growth or development happening in the body. So what is happening in I already told you that in liver disease the liver cells are getting damaged, means consider these the cells. So in liver disease these cells are getting damaged and are gone. Fine. So now what do we need? The cells which are damaged and which are worn off, we need to regrow. We need to have the rebuildment of these cells. These cells need to be rebuild up or to be regenerated. So for the building up of these damaged cells or for the regeneration of the damaged cells, we need to be providing protein. क्योंकि protein रहेगा, then only the new cells will be getting developed by the body. Getting me? So the protein intake thus will be increased, and also the protein intake should also be extend as per the, first of all the protein intake will be increased then normal. It should be increased then normal, because now the body is not working normally. The cells are damaged. The body has to work more. The cells has to grow. Fine. So the protein intake should be higher. It should be increased. And how much protein intake will be increased depends upon the level at which the liver has been damaged. Getting me? See, up to what extent the liver is damaged, depending upon that extent only the protein intake will be decided. That how much should be the protein intake, it should be decided as per the damage which has occurred to the liver cells. Like that we are doing it. It's not like, okay fine, because now you have liver disorder, so you need to have a 20 to 30% increase in the protein. We need to first of all see that whether the liver is damaged partially or whether the liver is damaged completely, or how much damage has occurred so far into the liver. Depending upon the rate of damage, the rate of increase of protein will be decided. Like that it is done. Fine. So that is how it is planned. Then in the liver disorder, if it is mild or if it is moderate, then protein intake will be 1.5 to 2 grams as per body weight. It is done. Okay, 1.5 to 2 grams per kg of body weight it is advised. Then if the condition is acute, sometimes depending upon the extent of the liver damage, the protein will be prescribed, or the intake of the protein will be recommended. Like that. Fine. So I am telling, if the liver disorder is mild or if it is moderate, so generally it is prescribed 1.5 to 2 grams proteins can be given of per kg body weight. Like if I am considering my weight to 60 kg, so a person, like if I have my liver damaged, so I can take 1.5 to 2 grams per kg body weight, means 1.5 to 2 grams per 60 kg. It is like that. Fine. If I am calculating it for my own body, or if I am 40, so per 40. If anybody is 50, so per 50. Like that it is calculated if it is mild or moderate. Then we have next is carbohydrates. So carbohydrate also is considered, carbohydrates is supposed to be taken high in the diet, and a daily intake of 300 to 400 grams of simple carbohydrates is recommended. And these simple carbohydrates can be the glucose, it can be sugar, it can be honey, it can be sugarcane juice, fruits can be included, fruit juices can be included, then some starches like cereals, roots, vegetables, all these things can be recommended. Means overall it should be 300 to 400 grams of simple carbohydrates that we can serve. That much is recommended. The carbohydrate should be, the intake of carbohydrate should be more, it should be increased. Then we have next is fats. So for fats, see what happens, our liver secretes the bile juice. Okay, bile is mainly secreted by the liver. Liver is secreting bile. Now because the liver cells are damaged, the secretion of bile also is impaired. First of all, I'll be telling you why am I all of a sudden talking about bile. See, we are talking about first of all fats, that how much fat should we give, or what basically happens when a person is having a liver disease. First of all, I am talking about bile because the food which we are intaking goes to stomach through the esophagus and all that, it goes to stomach. So in stomach, then after the food is in stomach, then later on the food gets mixed up with the bile, and because of the food getting mixed up with the bile, further digestion and absorption takes place. Fine. this happens. And this bile with which the food is mixing up, this bile is produced in the or is secreted by the liver. फूड जब हम खाना खाते हैं तो खाना हमारा क्या होता है, खाना आगे जाकर के हमारा बाइल के साथ में इट गेट्स मिक्स्ड अप. बाइल के साथ जब फूड मिक्स होता है तभी फर्दर डाइजेशन एंड एब्जॉर्प्शन takes place. Fine, this much is clear. So the food gets mixed up with the bile, and this mixing up of food with bile helps in further digestion and absorption of food. Fine, but now and this bile, कहाँ से ये bile आ रहा है? liver से. Now because the liver is damaged, the liver cells are not able to secrete bile properly. The bile secretion will be impaired. ठीक है, जब बाइल का सिक्रीशन इम्पेयर्ड होगा तो फूड को जितना बाइल चाहिए टू मिक्स अप इन इट, इट विल नॉट बी इनफ. द बाइल विच इज मिक्सिंग अप विद द फूड विल नॉट बी इनफ इन क्वांटिटी, एंड दस it will be obviously, because the bile is deficient or it is not sufficient, it will be obviously hampering the digestion and absorption. So basically the digestion and absorption of fat gets altered here. Why it gets altered? Because the secretion of bile gets impaired, and thus this digestion and absorption of fat also gets impaired. So this you have to keep in mind. You cannot be giving unrestricted fat to the patient who is suffering from a liver disorder, because the person will not be able to digest that fat. The fat will not be absorbed by the body. So we have to keep this in our minds while we are preparing or while we are planning a diet for a person suffering from a liver disorder. Fine. So if a person, now this much I hope is clear to you, that fat, the absorption and the digestion of fat, the digestion and the absorption of fat will be hampered if a person is suffering from liver disorder. Fine. So if a person who is suffering from liver disease which is mild to moderate, 40 to 50 grams per day of total fat can be given. Per day, the total fat can be given 40 to 50 grams to a person who is suffering from mild to moderate liver disease. Then if a person who is suffering from a severe liver disease, the fat has to be restricted to 20 to 30 grams per day. For mild to moderate it was 40 to 50, that much we can give. For a severe case we can only serve 20 to 30 grams of fat per day, because the liver is damaged now. So you have to take all these points in account while you are preparing diet for the patient. Fine. And also the quality of the fat which is recommended for the patient, the quality of that fat also should be modified. The fat should be emulsified. We do not have to give fat like that. The fat should be emulsified, and that emulsified fat only can be given to the person. Fine. So that much was about fats. Then comes the minerals and vitamins. So the diet which can provide all the minerals, especially the calcium and iron, that sort of diet can be served to the patient. Okay, the diet which can serve or which can provide all sort of minerals, especially your calcium and iron, that has to be given to the patient. Then also the fat soluble vitamins. The fat soluble vitamins, that is, what are the fat soluble vitamins? Vitamin A, D, E and K. So out of A, D, E and K, vitamin A and D, these always will be so vitamin A and D we have to give low in quantity, because those are the fat soluble vitamins. Fat soluble vitamins are vitamin A, D, E and K. So out of A, D, E and K, basically vitamin A and vitamin D we have to give in very low quantity, because the fat intake has to be reduced. So, and also the supplements of vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin C and vitamin B can be given to a person who is suffering from a liver disorder. The supplements can be given. Fine. Then next is your feeding pattern. What should be the feeding pattern for a person who is suffering from a liver disorder? First of all, the food which while we are talking about the feeding pattern, the very first thing which should come to your mind will be that the person will be anorexic. Fine. The person will be anorexic. The person will be having loss of appetite, who is suffering from a liver disorder. Fine. So first of all, you need to have this thing in your mind that the person will be anorexic, and then you have to prepare the food for the patient. Now, how that food should be? The food should be well cooked. It should be attractive. Well cooked. Why well cooked? Why attractive? Because if I am having any kind of if I don't feel like eating, or if I am anorexic, if I have loss of appetite, if anything prepared which is well cooked, or which seems to be delicious, or which smells very good, so it stimulates your appetite. You feel like eating that thing, or I'll feel like eating that thing. Thus the food should be well cooked. Then it should be attractive. It should not be like you are looking at the food, and just by looking at the food it is turning your appetite off, that no, I do not want to have it. Okay, so the food should be looking attractive, it should be well cooked. Then it should be also appetizing. Appetizing means it should be stimulating your appetite. It should be appetizing, because anorexia is a problem, so the food has to be appetizing. Then the consistency of the diet, the consistency needs to be also modified depending upon the patient's condition. We need to see that what consistency of the food this particular patient can tolerate. So depending upon the patient's condition, we need to adjust, or we need to modify the consistency of the food. Then a patient who is suffering from mild hepatitis, anybody who is suffering from mild hepatitis can take the food in the normal consistency, whereas a person who is suffering from acute hepatitis will be better taking the food which is liquid, or which is a soft kind of a diet that is recommended for a person who is suffering from acute hepatitis. Then if the patient is suffering from the severe case of hepatitis, then it sometimes requires the tube feeding. The nasogastric or the orogastric feeding is required for that particular person. Fine. Then there are certain foods which we need to include while we are preparing diet for a person who is suffering from this liver disorder. We can include sugar, glucose, honey can be included, pulses can be included, milk products can be included in the diet, eggs can be included, fruits, vegetables, these things can be all included for the diet. These things can be included in the diet of a person who is suffering from a liver disease. Then there are certain foods which are to be completely avoided, or which are to be restricted. Those are your fried foods, your fatty foods, then oils are there, nuts, then flavored vegetables. Flavored vegetables also can be sometimes they can act toxic for the body. So strongly flavored vegetables, strongly flavored food, meat. Then alcohol is a complete no if we are dealing with a patient who is suffering from a liver disease. So these are certain things which are to be completely avoided from the diet, or which are to be restricted while we are talking about the this thing, liver disease. Fine. So yeah, this was. So today I'll be giving you just about what I have taught you today. First of all, it was the liver disease. We were discussing about liver disease. Liver, liver first of all is considered to be the largest organ. It comprises of 2.5 to 3% of the total body's weight. Then it helps in metabolism of fat, carbohydrates and proteins. Then it also is detoxifying the toxins. All of the end products of the food gets stored in the liver itself. It gets detoxified there. If it is toxic, then it is transported overall the body wherever it is required. Then we went through the etiology of liver disorder, that was dietary deficiency, infective agents are there, toxic agents are there, then excessive storage of iron, copper, glycogen. These were the etiological factors. Then we discussed about the objectives of the dietary management in the liver disease. Then we discussed about the energy intake, then proteins intake, carbohydrates intake, fat intake, then vitamins and minerals, feeding pattern of the patient or the person who is suffering from a liver disorder, then feeding pattern, foods which are to be included, then foods which are to be excluded or which are to be completely avoided. So this was about today's class. Next we'll be dealing in the next class. Thank you, class.